Welcome to the general overview of the new meal pattern requirements effective July 1, 2012. December of 2010, the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act was signed into law. This legislation marked the most comprehensive changes to the school nutrition environment in the past 15 years. With that said, how does one eat such a large whale? And of course, the answer is one bite at a time. Let's take a few minutes to review some of the highlights of the new meal patterns. For lunch, a daily serving of fruit must be offered, and a daily serving of vegetables must also be offered, with specific vegetable subgroup requirements throughout the week. Meat alternates now have daily and weekly range requirements. At least half the grains that are offered during the week must be whole grain rich. For those that offer the school breakfast program, the new meal pattern changes are not effective until school year 2013-2014. Briefly, they include that meat alternate may be offered after the minimum requirement of grains is met. In the second year of the implementation, at least half of those grains offered during the school week must be whole grain rich. The third year of the implementation, the fruit quantity increases at breakfast. Some general overall changes for the programs include: there is now one food-based menu planning approach with age grade groups. Fruits and vegetables are now two separate food components. A daily requirement of fruit or vegetable is required. Under offer versus serve, students must select at least 1/2 cup of the fruit or vegetable component to be included as a reimbursable meal. There are weekly grain ranges with daily minimum requirements. Fat-free, unflavored or flavored, and unflavored low-fat milk only. There are calorie minimum and maximum levels. There are sodium target reductions. There are trans fat limits. Limits are now on saturated fat only. And there are changes in the administrative review cycle. The food-based menu planning approach is a menu planning approach that is required for both school lunch and school breakfast. This approach is meant to simplify menu planning and to serve as a teaching tool to help children choose a balanced meal and also ensure students nationwide have access to key food groups recommended by the dietary guidelines. The food-based menu planning approach is required for lunch operators beginning 2012-2013 school year. It is required for breakfast operators in the 2013-2014 school year. Any breakfast operator in Pennsylvania that would like to implement the breakfast requirements in the 2012-2013 school year must contact the Pennsylvania Department of Education, Division of Food and Nutrition, and request to do so. There are 5 food components, with the separation of fruits and vegetables as individual components at lunch. Food items are what are offered within the 5 different components. So, a food component is one of the 5 food groups which comprise a reimbursable meal. This can be a meat alternate, grain, vegetable, fruit, or milk. Food item refers to a specific food that is offered within the 5 food components. For example, grilled chicken breast, chicken nuggets, a roll, or an apple. Listed are the 5 food components. As a reminder, they are meat alternate, grains, a separation of fruits and vegetables, and milk. This section of the rule requires schools to identify the foods that are a part of the reimbursable meal at the beginning of their serving lines. This seeks to ensure that students understand the components of the reimbursable meal and do not make unintentional purchases of a la carte foods. Schools have the discretion as of how to identify foods that are part of the reimbursable meal. Approaches may vary depending on serving areas, age of children, types of service, etc. This portion of the rule requires schools to use age grade groups for planning lunches and breakfasts. Age grade groups include K-5, 6-8, 9-12. There is an overlap between K-5 and 6-8 that will allow for a K-8 menu planning pattern. But there is not an overlap for the 6-8 and 9th to 12th meal patterns. Schools that consist of both age groups or all groups must develop menus accordingly to meet needs of these two separate groups. Previously, schools were allowed a 1 grade level deviation. This is no longer allowed in the new meal pattern. One way to ease menu planning for a school with both 6th to 8th and 9th to 12th grade groups within one school is to start with a menu approach that is appropriate for 6 to 8 and then add foods that will serve the 9th to 12th grade group. For the older students, the fruit and vegetables minimums must be met. Therefore, in addition to the requirements for the 6th to 8th age grade group, schools must make available for the 9 to 12 grade students 1/2 cup more fruit daily and 1/4 cup more vegetables daily. There is also a need in the red-orange vegetable subcomponent for an additional 1/2 cup, 1/4 cup of the other vegetable subcomponent, and 1/2 cup of the additional vegetable subcomponent over the week. This graphic shows the calorie ranges for the 3 different age grade groups. As you can see, there is overlap for calories between K to 5 and 6 to 8, but no overlap at lunch for grades 6 to 8 and 9 to 12. Let's discuss offer versus serve. First, discuss what did not change. Offer versus serve is still only required for senior high schools and is still optional for lower grades, and it is optional for the breakfast program at all grade levels. Under offer versus serve, it is the option of the child to decline items. The meal is still priced as a unit, and the price is still the same whether the child takes the full 5 components or declines 1 or 2 of the components. The full amount of each component must be available to choose. For example, if the fruit component requirement of 1 cup for 9th to 12th grade is offered in 2 1/2 cup servings, the student must be able to take both 1/2 cup servings if they would like the full requirement. Students are always encouraged to not only take the full planned serving for the fruit and vegetable components, but for all components, as only the full meal provides the nutritional benefits that have been planned for each age grade group. The student can decline no more than 2 of the 5 components, which means they must take at least 3 of the 5 components. If the school offers combination items such as a cheeseburger, which contains 2 components, meat and grain, and the student declines this item, he or she cannot decline another component if there is no way to choose the meat and grain components of the cheeseburger separately. Under the new requirements, under offer versus serve, the student must take at least 1/2 cup serving of the fruit or vegetable component. This smaller portion size is only credited under offer versus serve as meeting the fruit or vegetable component. A student can now take 2 of the same items to meet the fruit or vegetable component for lunch. For example, if the school offers 1/4 cup of applesauce, peaches, and grapes for the fruit component, the student may select 2 servings of peaches or 2 servings of grapes to meet the 1/2 cup minimum requirement. Can students mix different fruits or vegetables to reach the minimum requirement? The answer is yes. For example, a student can choose 1/4 cup of peaches and 1/4 cup of apples to arrive at 1/2 cup minimum serving of fruit. If a student in grades 9 to 12 under offer versus serve just selects milk, fruit, and vegetable, the student must select 1/2 cup of either the fruit or vegetable component and must select the full 1 cup of fruit or vegetable as the other component. For breakfast, there is some phasing into the changes. As explained previously, there are no required breakfast changes other than milk for the 2012-2013 school year. Changes for breakfast will begin to occur in the 2013-2014 school year, and those changes will be discussed in the future in detail. For offer versus serve, a lunch example would include grilled chicken breast, roll, baby carrots, fresh apple, and milk. Under the previous meal pattern offer versus serve guidelines, if a student selected a grilled chicken breast, roll, and milk, that would have been a reimbursable lunch. Under the new meal pattern requirements, a grilled chicken breast, roll, and milk does not equal a reimbursable lunch. In this case, the student would need to add at least a half cup of baby carrots or a fresh apple to be considered a reimbursable lunch. Some menu planning considerations include the age grade group you're dealing with, short and long weeks, whole grain rich offerings, multiple offerings and serving lines, vegetable subgroups that are required, and the minimum and maximum ranges for weekly requirements. This is a full copy of the new lunch meal pattern. It is available on PAIR's form download under the Nutrition Standards for School Meals section. If you have questions about the content of this presentation, please contact the Pennsylvania Department of Education, Division of Food and Nutrition. Contact information can be found on this slide. Funding for this presentation has been provided by a 2011 Team Nutrition Training Grant from the United States Department of Agriculture.